Hello everyone, welcome to the Fabulous Fabric Box Mystery. I'm Karen and we're here at the Ponderosa today sewing up a storm and getting videos done and working on my mystery blocks. So we are here during month 5 and we are going to be doing blocks 9 and 10. These are going to be really fun. Again, you're going to be using this month your triangle squared ruler and your perfect rectangle ruler. So I hope you didn't forget what you did last month. Well, if you did, I'm going to go through it step by step again for you this month. So your blocks will turn out great. I hope your blocks turned out really well and they're beautiful. So we're going to use the triangle squared ruler up here in block 9, and then for block 9 and 10, we're going to do the same block here as we do down here, but look at how we're going to just add a different piece of fabric here on this one and make those two blocks look different. So let's go in and get started. Let's go through the list of what you need to cut for block 9 and let's start sewing. Now we're ready to cut out our pieces and start sewing. So this is block 9. You will need for block 9, oh here it is, I've already lost it, 1 4.5 by 14 inch white strip. All right, you'll need 8 2.5 inch squares. I'll put that right there, and 2 3 inch squares. Then from your light and medium, you will need 1 of each, a 4.5 by 7 inch rectangle of the light and the medium, and then 2 2.5 inch squares of each of your light and medium. Then from your dark, you will need 4 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles and 2 3 inch squares. Okay. Now let's start putting them together. First thing we're going to do is use our rectangle squared and our triangle squared rulers to cut these, and then I'll show you how to put your star points together again. I know we did this last month, but I'll show you again just in case you forgot. So I'll show you how to use these rulers to cut your blocks out and how to sew them together. So let's get started. We're going to start out by using our background piece. We have a 14 inch by 4.5 inch strip. We're going to use our triangle squared ruler to cut 4 triangles out of this. So I'm going to be using the 4, I'm going to put this up here so you can see really well. I'm going to line up that 4.5 inch line with the bottom strip of my fabric. So 4.5 lines up at the bottom of my fabric, and I have that flat little point right at the top. I will cut both sides. I'm going to move this out of the way before I cut that by mistake. I'm going to cut there and along the other side. There we go. This guy good? Oh, I must have a little cut in my blade now. Right, so we've got 1. I'm going to flip it over now, line up the 4.5 along the top of my fabric with the little point at the bottom now. So do that and make my next cut. That will give me 2, and so on and so forth until we get 4. So here's number 3. Line that up right along the bottom. And 1 more. I hope you liked doing these blocks last month, because you got to do them again this month. And I think they turned out really, really well. There's that. So this and this are scrap, and I've got 4 beautiful triangles ready to go. Now I'm going to cut my side star points. And I've got my light and dark, and these were 4.5 by 7 originally when we had this. I can't open it. Open it up, and I folded them in half and kind of pressed them. So now I'm going to put the fold right here. I'm going to cut them through both at the same time. Oh, yes, I know. I'm going to slide the fold over on this side, and I'm going to use this edge for cutting. So I'm going to, again, I'll put this up here, line up my 4.5-inch line along the bottom of my fabric with that flat point up on the top. Then I'm going to trim through all those layers, so make sure you have a nice sharp blade. You can do it through 2 if you want. Make sure that you get this little dog ear over here. Remember how important that was for getting everything lined up and making nice star points? You'll need that, don't forget. Then I'm going to take my ruler, flip it upside down, line it back up, and cut the other side. And that will give me 4 of each color. Right? Cut the little dog ear. Now we're ready to look at sewing those together. So that is going to be the first thing that we sew together. We are going to set up the center of our block first. I sewed mine together wrong the first time around. So let me show you an easy way to do this so that you will not make the same mistake. Set up your center 4-patch. You could sew these together and then come back and do this. I'm going to kind of sew everything at once, but I'm going to sew together my center block. This time we don't have just one piece of fabric in the center. We're making a little 4-patch for the middle of our block. All right. After that, lay your triangle pieces out the way that they're going to go, which is upside down. I've got that upside down. So they're actually going to go this way. Lay your triangle pieces out the way they would go. I'm going to move that so it's a little bit more inside. All right. Just like that. Now you're going to match up. Before, all of our little stars, our star points were the same color when it was in a block. Now it's going to be different because what we're going to do is we're going to match up the center with a star point. So here I'm going to have 2 lights together, and my 2 lights are going to go, whoops, over here and here. And then my 2 dark points are going to go here, matching up my dark color with my dark star point. See how that's coming together? And dark star point with dark center, and the same right here. All righty. That's how that's going to go, because in the end you kind of have a right and a left kind of thing going on. You can see if I pick these 2 up, they're going to be the opposite of this block. So if you sewed all your blocks exactly the same, they wouldn't match up with your center correctly. So at this point, what I'm going to do is take my light pieces and flip them over. Remember, I had a lot of people kind of that sewed theirs together kind of like that, and it didn't work. Remember that you're sewing a long point to a short point. Here's a short point to a long point. So that's an easy way to remember how to match these up. I'm going to pick them up and put them right onto my board so that when I get over to my sewing machine, they will be lined up correctly. And I'm just going to lay these out with the edges matching up. Now remember, when we match these up, we are going to take and match the little dog ear at the tip, matches up right with that point, and the other dog ear part lines up right along the bottom of your triangle. So your 1/4 inch will start here and you'll stitch all the way up. And the same if you flip this over, this is going to end up matching. That cutoff point will match with your fabric point as you go along. Perfect. It makes those just perfect, doesn't it? Mine were pretty good last time. I hope yours were too. So I'm going to sew these all at the same time, and then I'm going to come along and I'm going to sew these guys together. So that goes together and this goes together. Then I'll come back and show you how to sew the other edge. I'm going to sew, these guys and press to the red. These I'm going to press open. So I went ahead and finished sewing my center block together, In the end, I popped my seam and made it nice and flat, everything nested together. And now I'm ready to lay my blocks back out to kind of double check and make sure that I did everything right and I didn't get something turned around. It's going to be like a puzzle piece now to kind of put it back together, but we can do it. Here it goes. Just like that, that, and that. There. So half done. Now where I'm going to lay my other pieces back on again. These are going to go over here. Finish off my block so that we can see that everything is going to match up perfectly. Now I'm going to flip these over and put them on my board. So I can carry them over to my machine all nicely lined up and going the way they're supposed to go. That's going to go there and there. We're going to stitch these together and take a look and see how our block is looking. Here are our star points all sewed together, and now you can see how they're all going to line up nicely. I've got beautiful 1/4 inch sections. Let's see, he's going to go up here between my point and my edge, so that's very exciting. So I know when I sew these all together, I'm not cutting my tips off. So that is the center part of your block. Now let's look at the other pieces that you're going to be sewing together and get those sewed so that we can put this whole block together. We've got the hardest part done now. Next, you're going to take and you're going to make 4 half square triangles by using your background white, and this is my dark. I'm putting those together. I'm going to stitch on both sides of the line that I drew diagonally down my white, and then trim those down to 2.5 inches. They're a little bit big, so use your half square triangle ruler and cut those down to 2.5. Then we are going to take and we're going to make 4 of these other little points. So I'm going to lay all my pieces out because these are going to be all sewn exactly the same way. So you want to lay those out so you can take them right over to your sewing machine and stitch those correctly. This is going to go, oops, I just laid that wrong. Ta-da! Okay, here we go. This way. Sometimes we make some of these and they go left and right. These are all going to be exactly the same. So I like to lay them all out and then take them over to my sewing machine and stitch them. All right? Right on the line, trim the extra off and then press toward the triangle toward the end. So let's go do that and we will be ready to sew our block together. We have all of our pieces sewn together, and so now we're ready to assemble our block. I've got my center 4 patch, and now I'm going to lay, and you know what, I'm going to do this right on my board, because why lay it down on the table and then put it all on the board? This is going to be a little bit small, but not too bad. Need a little bit bigger board. We're waiting for the 14 inchers to come in, and I think that'll be perfect. But here we go. So I'm laying out my block, kind of giving myself a little space in between. And, whoops, come on, it's like a puzzle. Here we go. That's going to go there. This guy goes here, like that. Then we're going to continue with our little 4.5 by 2.5 inch pieces. These are going to kind of pop out like this and like that. Add this one going this way. Yep, it's like, just look at the picture and do it exactly the way the picture shows. Got those two. Now it's time to add my half square triangles, which are going to go here, so it kind of makes a little star point with a square at the edge. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and sew these sections together first, then add them to my star points. So let's do that first. I would set up all of these, and they all kind of turn a different, they all exactly get sewn together, all exactly the same way. So let's do that. This will be much easier. Take this, line those up that way. I'm going to sew these two guys together first, bring it back, add it to this. I'm going to press toward the white on this, and then I might press this open, or I just might press it toward the dark. Whatever makes you happy. You can do it either way. Then I'm going to lay my block pieces out and sew them all together, and I will be all done. And we'll get back to the big board in a minute, and we'll show you what that all looks like. Yes, you have block number 9 done. Doesn't it look fabulous? I hope yours looks great too. All my little points have a 1/4 of an inch from the point to the edge, and that always puts me in my happy place. Are you ready for block 10? I am, because this is going to be fast and fabulous. You can put away your triangle squared and your perfect rectangle rulers for this one. You're not going to need those. We're going to start out by making kind of the same block that we made over in this corner. But first, let me go through the pieces that you need to cut. From your background, you're going to cut a 5.5 inch square, and then you're going to cut it in half diagonally twice to make 4 triangles, okay? One 5.5 inch square, cut in half twice to make 4, that's 8, 4 triangles. Then you're going to need 8 squares that are 2.5 inches. I've got 4 here, and then I have another 4 that I drew diagonal lines on, right? So you can do that. And then you're going to get 2 squares that are 3 inches. Draw a line diagonally on those, and we're going to make some half square triangles out of those. Then out of my light fabric, I have one 4.5 inch square. This is going to be my center block. Last time we had 4 pieces that made the center. This time we're just going to have one center block. And then we're going to have 4 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. These are going to make these guys like we did last time with these. Put those 2 together. Then out of our medium fabric, you're going to have 2, this time you're going to have 2 5-inch squares, and you're going to cut them in half diagonally just once so that you end up with 4 triangles. So that's 2 5-inch squares cut in half diagonally just once this time to make 4 triangles. Alrighty, and then finally, you're going to have 2 3-inch squares. That's going to be the other part of your half square triangles down here. So let's start out first by assembling this little corner piece, which is going to be the same on block number 10 as it was on block number 9. I'm going to get rid of all of, whoops, I do need this. I'm going to need these guys. Get rid of this and these for right now. And this too. So use these 2 3-inch squares, match them up with your 2 background 3-inch squares that you have drawn diagonally, stitch on both sides, make 4 2.5-inch half square triangles, just like you did before. These blocks are going to be laid out just like this, and just like you did last time, you're going to lay your diagonal line going from the center to the corner there. Do all of those, get them nicely pressed, and then we'll come back and look at your next part. All right, so I have some of my pieces done and ready to go. I have 4 2.5-inch half square triangles. I have those other little 4.5 by 2.5-inch pieces all made and ready to go. So this time I'm going to lay these out on my board so that I'm ready to sew those together. This is going to be exactly this, not exactly, it's going to be the same block, but this time this fabric is one color and that's a different color. So it's going to make a whole different looking block by just changing the color of that little half square triangle. So let's do that. I'm going to lay these out because then I'm going to go to my sewing machine in a minute and sew all those together to make that part of the block. Oops, so these are going to go here. Then I need these guys, kind of stick them up, and they are going to go like this. Yep, got to get them going the right way, just like that. And then I have my other 2.5-inch squares that are going to go there. So I have this set up on my board and ready to sew. But I have another part that I'm going to sew at the same time. So I'm going to kind of do a couple parts at one time. So those are those all set and ready to stitch. Now we're going to take the triangles that we had, the background and the dark triangles that we had. We have 4 of each, and you're going to you're going to make sure that you lay these all going exactly the same way. So you want your first triangle to lay like this, and then lay your background triangle on top of that. You're then going to sew this edge. Now when I kind of line this up, sometimes I'll put a pin in here or a binder clip because it's easy to get these turned as you go along. So what I'll do is I'll put a pin here and then set it on my board for stitching. And I've already kind of pre-stitched some of these. So you're going to go back and you're going to stitch all of those. Once you've done that, I pressed my seams open in the back, and you get this kind of bigger triangle. The dark is going to be on this side, the light on this. All right. Now we're going to add this other piece so that we end up with a square that's going to look like this. Fun, right? And it actually goes on your block like that when you're done. I'm going to lay this piece, the other triangle, on top, and you can see they don't line up perfectly and exactly. That is okay. There's a little extra up on top of these. That's fine. Get your bottom kind of lined up, stitch across the bottom at 1/4 inch so that you end up with this. You can see that I've stitched across the bottom at 1/4 inch. I'm going to flip it over so I see both sides of my little triangle, because I'm going to use my half square triangle ruler from Quilt in a Day. I will line my 4.5 inch mark of my half square triangle ruler on the line that I stitched, not the bottom of this triangle, but on the line that I stitched. I'm going to line that up perfectly with the line that I stitched. Now you can see there's a line that goes straight up to the point on this ruler. I'm going to line that up with my seam line as well, so that that center line goes right up that seam line where those 2 fabrics meet. Then all I need to do is cut this up one side, yep, and down the next. Probably have to go over that again. I have to change this blade. I just changed it on Monday for Patrick Party. That was a week ago. All right. And when I open it up, ta-da, you're going to press it. I pressed this seam open as well, so this is all nice and flat, and you're going to end up with 4 blocks that look like this. So now you've got a couple steps to do. Go do those and come back, and we'll put the whole block together. It was that fast and simple. Pretty easy block this time. You have all of your pieces sewn together. Now it's time to sew that block together. Are you ready? I am. Look at how pretty this is. Oh, I love these blocks. All right, so I'm going to sew my top 3, then my middle 3, bottom 3. Sew them together like you have been every month, and we'll take a look at the block when it's done. I think it's really fun to see how different this block looks from this block, and they're the same block. We just switched up the fabric a little bit this time, and it really makes it look fun and different. So have fun sewing this together, and we will see you back here in 2 seconds, and you can see both blocks all finished again, and we'll be ready for next month. Well, you've done it. You got block number 10 done, 9 and 10 all done. Next month we do 11 and 12. Yay! And then we're going to put it all together. I hope you're excited as I am. And these blocks are turning out great. I can't wait to see it all together in a quilt. There's going to be several different options for putting it together, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun with it. So finish up those blocks, get them done. I hope you're keeping up with us, and we will see you next month for blocks 11 and 12.